What's going on, guys? My name's Joe, and today I'm just going to be walking you through what I use to record and how I render my videos, because a friend of mine has been having trouble lately with his renderings, and it's sort of I just wanted to make that video. This video is for him, but also for anyone else who wants to get their render settings really good. Now, these render settings that I'm going to show you, they're pretty much universal for anything you want to do. So it's not like you have to have one render setting for Minecraft, one render setting for I don't know, Outlast. Like whatever you want to do, these render settings should have you covered. You may need to add some brightness to the video itself, but the render settings are pretty universal as far as that goes. But the first thing I'm going to be showing you is my Fraps settings. Now, I'm actually recording with Fraps as of right now, and this is the program that I use to record. I like it. It has its ups and downs. I like it because it's pretty inexpensive. I mean, it's a $37 software, but I mean, you know, it's worth the money to me. But still, the problem with Fraps is that while it does have really good 1080p capturing and all that fun stuff, the files are going to be absolutely enormous. Like, I'm talking 10 gigabytes per 15 minutes of video, and that's not a good thing if you don't have a really big hard drive. I have a 1.5 terabyte hard drive dedicated for videos, Fraps recordings, and I still find myself, you know, having to delete some of them every now and again, and having to render a bunch of them so I can free up my hard drive. And that's a big problem if you don't have a big hard drive. But if you do, then Fraps is pretty much the way to go. It's easy, it's user friendly, and right now I'm just going to walk you through some of my settings. So my video capture hotkey I have set to F10 because like F9 in some games has this really weird thing with it. I don't know, but I capture at 29.97 frames a second, and let me tell you why. Because most people will say, oh, capture at 60 FPS, it looks better. Oh, capture at 50 FPS, it doesn't look like you're lagging in the video. But in all seriousness, YouTube converts the files to 29.97 FPS anyway. So that's one reason. So you're saving yourself the trouble for that, and not getting a whole lot of half frames and blurry effects because your frame rate's too high for YouTube to handle. That's one of the reasons I do this. Another reason is because the higher FPS you record at, the bigger your file size is going to be. If you record at 60 FPS, your file size, remember when I said it was 10 gigabytes for 15 minutes of gameplay? For 15 minutes of gameplay, it would probably turn into around 20 gigabytes. So I'm telling you, 29.97 is going to save you your hard drive space, and it's going to save you longer upload times because YouTube is compressing all that stuff down. I record at full size simply because it looks better. Now, I am a stickler about video quality. I love my video quality. I'm not going to change it for anything. You can record at half size, but again, it's not going to be true 1080p HD, and it's going to look blurry on YouTube, so don't do it. Unless you are really, really strapped for space on your hard drive, in which case, do it. But I don't. The loop buffer, I just leave it at 30. I don't find that it really has a purpose. Split movie every 4 gigabytes, unless you want a million different Fraps recordings of the same episode of your gameplay, leave this unchecked. Record Windows 7 sound, obviously yes. You can do stereo, or if you want to record in surround sound, if you have a really high-end sound card, you can go ahead and select multi-channel if that's you. Record external input, it varies. For some games where you can adjust every aspect of the volume, you can adjust the voice volume, you can adjust the master volume, whatever, you're going to want to just go ahead and record with your mic on Fraps, because your voice should be good enough if you can adjust all the volume in game. For games that that only have one master volume, to where the ambient noise is actually a lot louder than the voices, and if you turn it down, you aren't going to be able to hear the voices, and there's just a bunch of problems, I would just use a different audio recording software. And I have Audacity. It's really simple to use, really nice, free. Okay, so really simple, really nice, and free. So who doesn't like that? Hide mouse cursor in video, it's all personal preference. Lock frame rate while recording. It depends on what your frame rate is, but again, if you're following my advice and recording at 29.97, you don't want to look like you're lagging while you're playing, so go ahead and just leave this unchecked. Force lossless RGB capture may be slower. I just leave it unchecked. I find that the video looks just fine without it, but for those of you who have really, really high-end PCs and can handle it and can record at ridiculously high FPS in the most graphics intensive games, go ahead and check that. Now I do have a really nice PC with a good graphics card that I paid quite a bit of money for, and a good processor and pretty much good specs in my computer, but I just like to leave this unchecked because in some games I tend to have some frame rate drops if I do have this checked. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my Fraps settings. All this stuff is pretty much personal preference, and the movies are what matter. Let's go ahead and look at our render settings in Vegas. I use Sony Vegas Pro 10 personally because it's my favorite edition of Sony Vegas. It's simple to me. I'm used to it, and I just use it because After Effects, if you want to use After Effects, that's fine, but I find that unless you are doing like quick scope montages where you have like a bunch of fancy edits and 3D text, Vegas will serve the purpose rather well. So there are pretty much three main things you need to do in Vegas if you want your videos to look good. So let's go ahead and take, I don't know, let's go to my recordings folder. I have my recordings folder set here on this drive. But these are all my recordings as of right now. I have a bunch of stuff that I'm gonna need to upload for you guys soon, and I'm getting to that. But let's take, I don't know, let's take Far Cry 3 for example. Okay, so if we drag this down here and go open Vegas Pro, and you put it in there, wait for this to build peaks before you start rendering. If you just slap it in there and render it, which you really shouldn't do, because it'll look really choppy and nasty. The first thing that I do when I put this in here is I make it fade in and I make it fade out, because that just looks a lot more professional to me and I like it. The second thing I do, and this is very, very important, always do this with game videos, and even if you have a camera that's kind of weird, I would do this with it too. Right click on your video, go down to properties, click on it. Now here's where you're gonna this is probably the most important thing for you to do. Now, maintain aspect ratio. This should be unchecked at all times, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just uncheck it, because if you don't, you're gonna have black bars or really bad cropping in your videos. If you look at some of my earlier videos, that's what I mean, because I didn't have my render settings optimized yet. I just sort of slapped it in there and did it. But leave that unchecked. Reduce interlace flicker. I find that I don't know what this does, but I find it makes it looks better, so I'd keep that checked. Resample. This is what makes you have the fuzzy frames and the weird motion blur on top of YouTube's compression. But even if you record at 30 FPS, if you don't disable your resample, you're gonna have those weird frames. So disable your resample. So that's all you need to do here. Uncheck maintain aspect ratio, check reduce interlace flicker, and disable resample. Don't worry about that. And then hit enter. Well, where is it? Hit enter. Okay. So now that that's done, there's another thing you're gonna want to do. And if you go up here and click on this little icon right here, the one with the mouse, and it says Project Video Properties, this is pretty much where all the magic happens. I have a template set. It's called YouTube Stuff. Don't judge me. So the width is 1280 by 720, because 720p and 1080p, I don't find there's a huge difference on YouTube, and it just takes a little bit less time to upload. So these render settings here that I'm about to show you are pretty much the most optimal render settings for YouTube. Stereoscopic 3D mode off. The frame rate. Okay, the frame rate is going to be pretty much the most important part of all of this. It needs to match your Fraps frame rate. If you record at 60 FPS, which you shouldn't because we've already been over this, YouTube compresses it. So since we're recording at 29.97 FPS, this needs to be at 29.97 FPS. It needs to match your recording frame rate. So if you're stupid and record at 60 FPS, just set this to 60 FPS. Just make sure it matches, okay, and is what I'm trying to say. Field order, none. Progressive scan. Pixel aspect ratio is 1 or square. Output rotation, 0. Let's see. Pixel format. I find 8 is a pretty healthy medium, because some I don't know. I just leave it at 8-bit. Just trust me on that. Compositing gamma 2.222, which it doesn't give you the option to change. Full resolution rendering quality best. Okay, if you're going to upload to YouTube, it needs to be best. Let's just leave it at that. Motion blur type, I don't find that this really makes a difference, but just leave it at Gaussian. Deinterlace method, interpolate fields. That is very important. Trust me, it makes your YouTube, for whatever reason, it makes your YouTube uploads a lot shorter. Pre-rendered files folder, that really doesn't matter. That's just personal preference. Okay, excuse me. Adjust source media to better match project or render settings. Leave that unchecked, please. Audio, master bus mode, stereo, or 5.1 surround. It doesn't really matter, but it's going to take longer to render if you do have surround sound. Number of stereo buses, I just I just leave it at 0. 44,100 is what your sample rate is going to want to be. The bit depth should be 16 because it's a nice healthy medium. The resample and stretch quality, I just leave it at good, because the audio in my videos I find is just fine if I leave it at good, and it makes my render time a lot less long. Ruler time, I don't really think any of this applies, but 29.97 FPS video, that's all you're gonna really need to change here. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Okay, and there you go. That's that, and that's what you're going to want to have that as. And after you enter all those settings, be sure to rename it and save it. But down here is what you're I'm sorry, I forgot the drop down menu. You're going to want to put it at what was this at? I remember. It was HD 720 60p 1280 by 720. Well, not that. Where was it? Trying to find it. It's 1080 by 720. Where was it? There it was. Okay, so it's HDV 720 30p 1280 by 720 29.97 FPS. Again, this has to match your recording FPS, the FPS you recorded at, and just go from there and enter all the settings that I told you. Now, I'm sorry this is very unorganized, but now once you're done, once you have all your stuff selected, once you're good to go, you have your template, you have your this going, you have this going for yourself. Go to File, Render As, and you can name it whatever you want. I find that to save as types, Sony AVC.mp4, YouTube really likes these files for some reason and tends to upload them a lot faster. So use it, Sony AVC.mp4. Template, okay. This is going to be your render settings, and this is probably one of the second most important part of your video. The video format, I find AVC is good. Memory stick, I don't even know what that is. Leave it at AVC for the love of God. High definition 1280 by 720, again 720p, matches everything else. Profile main, entropy coding CABAC, frame rate, again 29.97, match it. Allow source to adjust frame rate, don't do that. Field order, none. Pixel aspect, 1. Bitrate, 13 million. I don't know why this isn't working. Encode mode, automatic, whatever. Oops, I don't know why my taskbar is being odd and getting in the way. It's probably because of my really weird resolution. Okay, so that's the video. That's the video section. Audio, include audio, yes. Audio format AAC, sample rate 48,000, bitrate 192,000, or you can go to 320 if you really are an audiophile and like that. Audio coding mode, stereo, or 5.1 surround. Again, it's going to take a little bit longer to render if you have that, but whatever you selected in those other settings, select it there because you want to make everything match. Okay, format MP4. MP4. Leave it at MP4. Project video rendering quality, again, best because you need it to be as clear as it can be for your awesome YouTube viewers. Love all of you guys. Stereoscopic 3D mode. You could either just use project settings because you have it off there. And remember, again, save your template. I have mine as use it. And then you are ready to render. So that's my my render settings, my fraps settings, my basically everything settings that I have now shared with you guys. And thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, leave them down in the comment section below. I will try to reply to you, and I will see you guys in the next video.